successful and you get most letters about them. I think we're being very sophisticated here. I mean, for example, magazines, and more magazines being read than ever before, are supposed to teach you something. I mean, I thought one of the most interesting things was Anne Gloag, who's the Businesswoman of the Year, who they asked her how she coped with men, and she said, I've been a nurse. I mean, after that, she'd obviously got no trouble. I thought that was quite interesting. I think we're being highly sophisticated. Those triumph over tragedy stories and the human side of news stories, I think, are not being done on TV now.
I didn't find the Anne Gloag interview very interesting. I wanted to know more about how it had come about, you know, how she got the money and the bells and the books.
I was a wee bit concerned about that particular interview because it was treating this woman who was Businesswoman of the Year as kind of like an Oscar winner. Now, I don't know if anybody else has, but I've travelled on a stagecoach, right? And the reason people travel on stagecoach buses is because they're skint and they can't travel any other way. And that's why it's so successful. It's a cheap form of transport. But it wasn't kind of looked into that. The business side of things wasn't looked into.
Great. Well, we'll go on lastly to the comedy show I Love Keith Allen, in which he appears in a huge variety of guises. A dancer, a BSB continuity man called Paulo Webster, as the interviewer of Norris McWhirter, chairman of the Freedom Association, as Jerry Arkwright, leader of the Northern Industrial Gays, and as both commentator and participant in a pro-celebrity boxing match. Here he is as the actor Kenneth Branagh, fighting his opponent Kirkland Lang, not with gloves, but with martial speeches from Shakespeare.
Some last-minute touches from Emma Thompson there.
Round one.
Second step out of the ring. And Lang, Brannah's miming. He's gone for the horse. It looks like a horse. I think it's Henry V.
Forward onto the breach.
Yep, it's Henry V.
Or close the wall up with our English dead. In times of peace, nothing so becomes a man as modest humility and stillness. But when the blast of war blows in our ears...
Controversy here. Lang stopped. I don't know what's happened. The referee sent him to a neutral corner.
You're shouting, Branagh. Next time it'll be a public warning. No shouting. Project. Use the diaphragm. Right, box or...
Surely no, this is incredible. Shouting warning. Branagh going in. Branagh going back to the mime.
Disguise fair nature with hard
Henry V
From the
here.
stomach, Kempron. Remember your training.
Let it pry through the portage of the head like the brass cannon. Patronise him, Ken. Ethnic minorities.
Bit of help there from Ben Elton.
As fearfully as the gold rock, O'Hang and Jutty, his confounding base, swilled with the wild and wasteful ocean. Come along, Kenneth, hit him with a right. Thatcher's been doing it for years.
Craig Ferguson, what does one funny man think about another?
It's a wee bit tricky for me, this one. It's a wee bit tricky to be objective about someone else's work when you're so involved in the same kind of thing. I only know Keith Allen before this as an actor. I've never seen him do stand-up, and I think he's a great actor. That clip that was shown, the one of the boxing match, pro-celebrity boxing, was the best thing in the programme, I thought. It was really funny. There were a few things... I mean, with comedy, it's a difficult thing. When you meet a comedian for the first time, you have to get used to their sense of humour. You have to get used to the way they think. So I think I would watch it again. I wouldn't buy a square reel to see it, but I'd watch it again and like to see how it continued. There was one thing in it which I objected to very strongly, and that was the interview with Norris McWhirter, when he was interviewed, and obviously they had dubbed on facts about Norris McWhirter, which they hadn't confronted him about during the interview. And I thought that was, A, it's a one-off because no one else will ever give you an interview, and B, it's not fair to the person. You might not agree with Norris McWhirter, and I don't agree with Norris McWhirter, but he should have a chance to say, to defend himself.
In fact, they removed it from the second edition of the
Didn't
program.
have much to do with comedy either, I think.
No, it didn't. No, I agree with that. But I'm interested that you say that you thought the boxing thing was the best thing in the programme. I don't know what you thought, Douglas, I thought it went on too long.
I thought it went on a lot too long, and I've actually seen that sketch done better before by the Pythons, where they did it very, very briefly and much more funnily. And also I've seen it done on Saturday Night Live in America. And it did just go on. It never actually homed in on precisely what its joke was. When Python did it, it was very, very clear. And it just, went on hoping to sort of gather some more laughs into its fold as it went along, but never quite certain what it was going for.
Which of the roles did you think really succeeded?
Well, I suppose the Kenneth Branagh one comes quite close. I don't know. A lot of them I just felt was sort of very edgy. I mean, the Paolo, the continuity announcer. I couldn't quite see what he was doing there. I thought, I suppose, the Northern Industry.
There was a link, wasn't he, between the various items? I thought when he was being the sports commentator, I mean, that was quite a good takeoff of your actual boxing ring sports commentator. I mean, it was good in that way. It was a good send-up.
Yes. One of the things I think annoyed me was the sense that unless you're, it kind of it attempts to disarm you by saying, if you disagree, if you don't enjoy this, it means you're not right on enough. And I think you actually have to say, is that good enough?
Eve, what did you think?
Well, he undressed more than most comedians I've ever seen, more bare flesh, and he's probably quite an engaging chap, but I just didn't think he was very funny. I mean, I agree that the boxing thing was the best thing, but that was all right for 2 minutes. I think the McWhirter thing was just a cowardly way of trying to get an interview. But I also thought that it just took all those sort of obvious attitudes of being this is trendy and this is now, but it wasn't funny at all. And also he obviously couldn't resist pulling himself off camera. I'm sure they could have got a link man to come and do the little things he was doing.
Yes.
He'd have been better off with someone else being in it.
Yes.
I think.
I would have said that, in fact, I mean, I noticed in the credits that Keith Allen wrote and performed in the programme, obviously, but it was all written by him. And I think what he would have benefited from greatly is a script editor, someone who would actually say, no, this has actually grown too long, and we're going to stop it there. You don't have to have, Barry Cryer come in and go, oh, right, go back to reveal no trousers. But at the same time, there is a time, I think, when one person writes a show, that it really is a good idea to have someone else come in and say, no, you're going too far there.
Well, now I'm going to ask you all a more general question, which is this. In your view, is there going to be room for 2 satellite stations in this country? Or perhaps is there even going to be room for 1? What do you all think?
I think there is. I think that deregulation will mean that you can get programmes on at night and you don't have the choice, as you often do, of snooker, bowling and snooker, which for women is not particularly exciting. I think that there will be. I think it will be a nightmare for them both, probably, between now and any profits to be made. But I think we do want choice. They're just going to have more, they just need more people to help them.
It has been said that, unlike America, where there are thousands of stations, in this country we've got 4 channels, we've got video, which is a very big business in this thing, and people are watching less television than they used to, by about 8 minutes this year over last year. Do they really want something else, and are they really prepared to pay for it?
Well, I'm reminded of what's happening with Sunday newspapers at the moment, because I've noticed that the more Sunday newspapers there are, not only does the amount you read of each of them therefore sink proportionally, but the total amount you read altogether sinks absolutely, which is something I'm hard put to explain. But I find the more and more television there is to see, the less television altogether I actually watch.
That's right.
I mean, I would think that when we're talking about 2 satellite companies coming in, and you've talking about snooker, bowling and snooker, the people who are going to buy satellite dishes, I would think, are the people that want snooker, bowling and snooker. So if Sky and BSB take the snooker, bowling and snooker, fantastic, then I don't have to buy a square or a dish or anything. They can have it all.
I think if it's true, if they're all going to like snooker, bowling and snooker, I think that would be a great pity. Maybe there's only room for 1. Maybe they'll have to do the unthinkable and combine. But I think we do need more choice.
From what you've seen so far, which of these 2 do you think is going to survive?
Between Sky and BSB?
Yeah.
I've not seen Sky.
No.
But BSB
I think Sky News is brilliant.
Yes.
And if you're a journalist, it's
and this has
marvellous.
practically no news. It has 2 or 3 minutes on all the channels, but that's all.
I think to be said in the favour of BSB, they do actually make their own programmes as well, I believe, is much more so than Sky, which I think might be a mistake, but it certainly seems a more adventurous way to approach things, and I would give them my vote just for that, just for making programmes, which has got to be a good idea.
Craig Ferguson, Eve Pollard, Douglas Adams, thank you all very much. Well, now let's leave television's future and take a look back at one aspect of its past. Every hour of every day, there are always some people in the world watching the work of the 2 most successful animators in the industry, Bill Hanna and Joe Barbara. From Peter Perfect to Fred Flintstone, from Atom Ant to Magilla the Gorilla, Hanna-Barbera have produced some 300 animated cartoon series since they first joined forces at MGM back in the 1930s. And this year marks the 50th anniversary of the creation of the most universally popular of all their characters, the legendary Tom and Jerry. To coincide with publication of a history of the company called The Art of Hanna-Barbera, written by Ted Sennett, we asked Gilbert Adair to take a long look at all those successful cartoons and see what, if anything, they had in common.